We are from the University of Guelph's Wellness Education and Promotion Center, which is located on the first floor of the J.T. Powell building. You could also find us online. We are an educational resource center that provides information and resources to students, staff, faculty, residents life staff, and off-campus groups. Disclaimer, this workshop is intended to be fun and to serve as an introduction to sex toys. Please note that you must be 18 years of age to purchase a sex toy. The material that we are presenting is sexually explicit and may be offensive to some. You are free to leave at any point during the workshop.
We are going to talk about may not be things that you're interested in exploring yourself, and that's okay. If you're not currently sexually active, that's okay too. Everyone has their own preferences. However, we ask that you be respectful of the sexual diversity on this campus. Please be conscious of the way your words and actions may affect other people. We are also challenging you to think beyond the commonly held stereotypes about sexuality that are often portrayed in media.
And with that, let's begin.
In this webinar, we're going to talk about reducing risk with sex toys. We're going to play a little bit of a game. We're going to give you a scenario, and you get to think about where that scenario would land on this bullseye. So if you think that is a low-risk scenario, you would consider putting it on the outside circle. If you think it's a medium-risk scenario, then you would consider putting it on the middle circle, and if you consider this a high-risk scenario, you would consider putting it on the inner circle. The first scenario is using a rubber dildo without a condom for vaginal penetration on multiple people's bodies. What risk do you think this is? If you said high to medium risk, you're right. This is because rubber is hard to sanitize between use on different people's bodies, and this can make STI transmission quite possible between the bodies being penetrated.
The second scenario is using metal cuffs to restrain a consenting partner. What kind of risk does this have? If you said low to no risk, you're right, because this is consensual, and at worst, there may be some bruising at the wrist from the cuffs digging in. If this worries you, you could consider using Velcro or cloth cuffs as an alternative.
Our next scenario is using a lambskin condom on a toy to penetrate someone's anus. Where do you think this falls in terms of risk? If you said medium to high risk, you'd be right. Unlike regular condoms, lambskin condoms do not prevent against STI transmission, which is risky as the anus can have STIs. However, if the penetrating part were a penis, lambskin condoms are considered effective for pregnancy prevention, which is good because if the penetrated partner has a vagina or uterus, then there's a small risk of drip pregnancy from semen that moves from the anus into the vagina.
Next, what do you think about the situation of masturbation with a personal toy only used on one body? If you think it's low to no risk, you're right, because touching oneself with a toy used on only their own body will not make one pregnant or transmit an STI. This behavior could be higher risk if one touches oneself directly after touching someone else's genitals without a barrier, because it would cause fluid transmission.
Our last scenario is making out with someone who is HIV positive. Where do you think this risk falls? If you said low to no risk, you'd be right, because HIV is not transmitted through saliva or through skin-to-skin contact. It requires blood, semen, vaginal fluid, anal fluid, or breast milk. Next, we're going to talk about some of the ways to reduce risk. The first thing we're going to talk about are toy cleaners. These are designed usually to be pH balanced and antifungal or antibacterial, so that a toy can be sanitized when moving between different places on the same body or between bodies or before storage. These cleaners are specifically made for toys. Remember, do not use hand sanitizer, bleach, or dish soap. These can damage the toy and can really irritate the body. Do not expose mechanical or electrical parts of the toy to water when you're washing them.
Another way that you can reduce risk when using sex toys is checking out the toy materials. So without going into too much detail, there are loads of different materials used to manufacture sex toys. The sex toy industry is not regulated, so doing your own research and asking questions at stores is key. Typically, toys made using high-quality, medical-grade silicone are easiest to clean and last the longest. This is true also for glass toys. Toys that are made of rubbers and plastics are more porous and thus more difficult to thoroughly clean or use long-term, and it degrades sooner. Lower quality toy materials tend to smell gross, so it may seem funny, but try the sniff test to check if the toy you're buying has a chemical type odor. High quality silicone does not have a rubbery/chemically scent. Lower quality materials cost less, so be prepared to spend more for better quality toys if this is important to you. Lastly, use condoms on lower quality toys so that any toxins or chemicals are not in direct body contact, and this also helps you keep them clean.
Next, we're going to be talking about compatible lubes. Using lubricant is a great way to make toys work for you. The big thing to understand is that there are different types of lube, and which one you use matters. Water-based lube is ideal because you can use it with any sex toy material. It will not do damage to the toy or to your body. Silicone lube is really long-lasting and smooth, but it should not be used with silicone sex toys because silicone on silicone is bad and will degrade. On toys not made of silicone, lube made of silicone is a good option. Lube reduces the friction of a toy's contact with and within the body, which is important because it can minimize risks of tearing. This is particularly important for any penetrative acts, particularly anal play or for sex play that occurs over a long amount of time.
Next is communication. This may seem like an odd factor for safer toy use, but communication in any sexual experience with partners is paramount. If you want to explore toys together, consider visiting a local adult store together with no pressure to buy something and just get the conversation going. Give someone time to think about the toy and the behavior that you have discussed with them. Encourage them to share their thoughts. Do not repeatedly bother them about it. That is a form of coercion and is unacceptable. If you want to use a toy and someone is nervous or unsure, they choose how far you go and what behaviors are allowed. Stop by the Wellness Education and Promotion Center if you need more information about healthy relationships and communication.
Next, we're going to talk about storing toys. Toys are best stored so that they do not touch other toys. Try to keep toys in separate bags and to make sure that they have been washed and dried before being stored. When toys are the same material or start touching, they can begin to degrade one another, which means that they don't last as long.
Thanks for joining our webinar series. We hope you learned something. Check out the other parts if you missed out on any or you want to relearn it again. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us on any of these platforms. We hope you come to our other webinars and learn something new.